Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X TCG, and today we are going to be doing a why or why not you should be playing, the next in the series, and this time it's going to be on, you guessed it, read the title probably, Purple Blue Kaido. So that's going to be kind of fun, in my opinion. We got a little bit to talk about today, and then I think tomorrow we will put up our Luffy one, and then after that we can actually go into set 2. That's actually kind of cool. It'll be literally about a month away. We'll be getting into it, and yeah. Only things I want to say real quick before I get into it is that if you want to support the channel, make sure you go down and comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to join UniX fam, hit that notification button so you don't miss a beat, maybe even share it to your friends. The point is, we are going to get a lot of mileage out of these videos. This has been a really fun journey and is going to continue. Post that, I just want to say that I'm also making Battle Spirit Sagas video. The first one I've put out since the how-to video is actually going to be in the description, and it'll probably be one of the suggested videos. But if you want to, just show some love to the channel, make sure you go to that, maybe like it. If Battle Spirits isn't your thing, of course, obviously I'm not expecting you to watch the whole thing. Maybe just let it run in the background so it trends and gets to the people that are looking for Battle Spirits content. So let's jump into this Kaido breakdown. So, obviously, leader we're going to talk about, Blue-Purple Kaido, Purple-Blue Kaido, however you want to say it, Blue-Purple Kaido, and his ability is cool. When you have one Dawn underneath him, you're going to be able to gain a Dawn in active mode once per turn when you KO your opponent's cards. Yeah, it is once per turn, so technically it should work on either player's turn. Well, actually it shouldn't, it says your turn, so never mind, let's back up out of that. But the whole point about this guy is that he's going to provide a ramp via destroying. And this changes the dynamic of how you build your deck. Because the normal Kaido deck is like, okay, well look, I need to have a perfect balance of ramp, destruction, and defense. This one, yes, you are still going to want to have that same balance, but it's a little less intensive on the ramp, at least late game. Early game, it actually has almost the same dependency on ramp, because even if you who's who something, you're gaining a Dawn, but you're also, losing the Dawn by playing the who's who. So it kind of all washes out. The only difference is the way that you're using it. You can pay 3 to play a who's who. -1 Dawn, blow up something like a Bonnie or a Chopper or a Nami, and then you're going to gain that Dawn back right then and there in active mode. So you essentially had access to 4 Dawn for that round turn. So in that way, it actually is more effectiveness of usage of Dawn, even if it doesn't look like you're ramping. So that's actually really, really cool. So the question here, right, is why would you want to use purple blue? And this isn't going to be the same as why you would use blue purple as in the crocodile video we just had out yesterday. This is actually a little bit different. So in this particular one, right, you are using the full destruction suite. It is not picking and choosing. You are using Kaido's entire destruction suite. But in exchange, you are adding even more 2Ks to your pool. So you have a better time countering, but you're also adding some tech cards in like Perona, which are going to help set up your draws. Because the one thing Kaido did not have access to were any way to fix consistency, draw or set up your draws. This is not only going to add Blue's ability to draw to a Kaido deck, but it's also going to add Perona's ability to stabilize your incoming draws to make sure that you are always drawing the best destruction for the right turn, and that's going to be a huge, huge boon. So let's actually get into these things. We have a couple cards to go into, and like always, we're going to break it down by what they're doing. And so the first thing we have here is actually going to be ramp. Well, Hook, you guessed it. You're still going to be running Onigashima, still one of the best cards in the deck, if not the best card in the deck. It's going to ramp you every turn, and this plus your leader's effect is going to put you incredibly ahead when you get on the roll. The second one, you're not going to use it as much. He will most of the time still just be a 2K, but it's still Sakai. He is going to be able to ramp you if you need to in a pinch. And there are more ramp cards, but one of the things I'm going to have to put up front about this deck is that it is extremely tight. You cannot exactly be cute with Blue-Purple Kaido. You have to actually make sure that every card counts. The consistency, the amounts, yeah, every card counts, and it is not a deck that has a lot of flex spots. Now, in terms of consistency, you actually have quite a lot, right? Perona, Like I said, Prona is a very, very, very good card. You're going to be able to look at the top and you're going to be able just to find exactly what you need. Hopefully search for that Onigashima. That's one of the biggest things. On curve, Purple Kaido really didn't have anything to do other than play a blocker if you went second. Now going first or second, you can at least look at your top 5 if you don't have Onigashima in hand already and attempt to find it. This is one of the biggest boons to playing this deck. Opening up Onigashima or this, hoping you can find the Onigashima. Wonderful. Next, when it comes to this, you don't play this often as a character, but when you do, you can fish. If you need certain destruction, certain defenses, you can draw 2, trash 2. This deck has a lot of cards that don't counter, so using this in that fashion, you can get some of those out of the way. Now, you also will be able to burn through cards in your hand on the destruction, but sometimes, of course, you will be low. And so this deck can use Boa Hancock in order to defend or attack and draw cards, making this a very, very good thing to continue the amount of destruction you have. And being blue and purple, you have access to quite a few good defensive cards, and so Boa is going to be a good bridge on that defense, offense, but also gaining cards to better tear your opponent's board apart or protect your own life. Queen, we don't even have to explain Queen. She's a block. Well, he's a blocker. He's going to be gaining 2 cards. You're trashing 1. There's plenty of cards to trash, plenty of good cards to draw into. Queen is literally still that dude in this deck, and he has better cards to draw into or a wider pool of cards to draw into. And then this one, a little bit experimental. I've seen a lot of people not playing it. Some people do play it, and I feel like when you do play it, you want to get more than 2 copies because its trigger is disgusting, is Spada. Spada is going to help set up, helping you find that destruction, helping you find that defense, help you find, you know, even on turn 1, if they swing and you just want to keep your life up high, but also hopefully find that Onigashima, this is going to also help you as well. But also, if you do take a damage and it's in your life, you will be able to draw 2, trash 1, which is essentially Queen's effect without the body. So you're going to want to be able to use good cards, and I think this can be one of them depending on your build. Now, when it comes to the destruction suite, there's nothing really that different from Kaido. These are all the same Kaido cards, but we will still go through them. You've got Who's Who, which arguably is actually the one I want to talk about most. Who's Who is actually so much better in this deck because normally Who's Who just destroys a Lobby, but in this deck, Who's Who is going to destroy the Lobby and refund you a Dawn, which is going to be infinitely better than it could be before. It's going to just get your leader rolling. Now that being said, this is a 4 Dawn play because you have to have 1 Dawn on your leader, which you're going to use to attack probably, and you're going to have to use 1 Dawn, or the 3 Dawn under here to do that, and then you can just kill the Dawn and then get a Dawn back for destroying something on the KO. But this is going to be able to happen early in the game. It's going to get your stuff rolling, so I like that. After that, of course, you've got the Starter Deck King. Starter Deck King is going to do Starter Deck King things, destroying 4 costs. That's awesome. We like that. We definitely do. Nothing too much to say about that one. You got this King, which is better for green and red matchups, destroying the 2 cards, one of them being 3 or less, one of them being 2 or less, still the same card. I apologize if I'm going through this fast, just let me know if I'm going through this too fast, but like I said, you can always look at the Kaido video and see most of these cards as well. This is the second to last in the Set 1 series. You've got the big Kaido from the starter deck, the one that's going to blow up something 5 or less and then rush. Very good cards, still very, very usable in this deck. And then you also have this one. This one's particularly a little harder to use in this deck, especially seeing that you have 4 life. Yes, this deck has access to more defense, and yes, you're going to have an open Dawn more times than not in this deck because of your leader's ability. However, it is something to note that to use this card, lots of times you effectively need to be at 3 life or more, right? Because you don't want to get into a position where your opponent can, in a red deck, rush you down. Other decks are a little bit different. Like if you're not facing Kid, you can be at 2 life and use this, but it's still a little risky. But normally, yeah, you want to be at a higher bit of time. Now, it's rough because you will never be able to play this guy effectively with your leader skill because he costs 10, your leader needs 1 under him. And because of that, you will never be able to get refunded. If so, you know, you can have a world where you play this guy, gain a Dawn back, untap, then Onigashima Dawn, and you're back up to 6 Dawn actually. But no, you have to have 1 Dawn underneath your leader, so this card will never be able to get played. So he's a hard tap out in a deck that starts with 4 life. There is likely going to be very few times you feel comfortable enough to play this unless you were in control of the game the entire time. When it comes to defense, you've got a lot. You got 1 drop blocker, Trafalgar Law. You've got both 2-drop blockers from, you know, Purple, Kurizumi, and Black Maria. You have Boa Hancock, who excellent on the attack or defense. You've still got Queen, he is still that dude. Now the notable ones actually are going to be Blast Breath. Blast Breath is still just a very, very powerful card for barely anything, and it's going to protect you very well. But you also have Lightning Bagua or Thunder Bagua. Thunder Bagua is actually going to be interesting in this deck because you start with 4 life. You are likely going to be able to use this a lot easier. This card will almost always ramp you just because you start off with like 4 life. You're probably going to take those 2 damage at some point. So this is almost always going to be online for ramping you. With that being said, the question is, why would you use this? You know, the pros, the cons. In this format, I'm going to be completely blatantly, like brutally honest with this one. In this format, I am not sure if there's a reason to play this deck. If you face red, right, you have so much Lobi removal and you have the defenses, you might actually fold red, or red completely gets its top like speed on you and you end up dead before you can even get off the ground. Let's say you're playing against green. You might actually roll over most of their field, but the odds of you getting to a point where you can 10-drop Kaido against a green deck with this deck without being at range for instant death against their leader effect is actually very, very, very low. When you face against blue, blue has a board that can get wider and wider. You have a lot of destruction, but blue will keep being able to put pressure on board. It's a toss-up. And when you face actual purple, this deck is going to allow purple to get to its late game because this deck isn't essentially very fast. It's kind of a destruction-based grinder. So all in all, I don't think this deck has enough good matchups to consider bringing it to the Treasure Cup. And I think that actually a lot of games can just feel very, very, very much so outside of your grasp, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So I know I always try to like to see the good spaces in these decks when I'm doing this video, but when it comes to this deck, I just have to say not every deck can be hyper competitive. A lot of your wins with this deck are going to feel very, very, very close. And none of your wins are going to feel really like landslides from what I've seen. I've played against it a few times. I've watched people play it a few times. The games have always come down to the wire, or they've just gotten completely clapped. And if your wins always feel like they were barely wins, that probably tells you something about the deck. So if you feel like there's a different kind of stance on this, please let me know in the comments. I do want to hear your opinions, and maybe we can do a revised one. Maybe we can put somebody's deck profile on the channel. However, yeah, that's kind of the vibe I've been getting from this deck. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video. I think tomorrow we will likely be doing Luffy. Yeah, we'll be doing Luffy for the why or why shouldn't you play, and yeah. We're gonna be having a good time over here in Universe X. Make sure, like I said, if you want to support the channel, maybe go over there and leave a like on the Battle Spirits video, and maybe go back and even like the how-to Battle Spirits video. It'll be linked in the description for the Battle Spirits video I just put up. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time.